What can we expect from the Game Awards? You know, it's interesting to me because, well, number one, Jeff, who is my co-host on the show typically, um, he has mentioned multiple times that he believes that the next time that we see something about State of Decay 3 will be at the Game Awards this December. And obviously, State of Decay 3 is the number one thing that we are passionate about, excited about, whatever you want to call it, guys. That's what we are absolutely hyped beyond belief about is State of Decay 3. We want to see here, we want to just get any type of information, content, something in relation to State of Decay 3 at the Game Awards. I would love to see it. I've stated multiple times, I don't think that we're going to see it at the Horror Game Awards. I don't think we're going to see it at the Game Awards. I don't think we're going to see it at the Dev Direct in January. I think we're going to see it at the Xbox Game Showcase of 2026, which more than likely is going to be June. What else could we expect to see at the Game Awards? Well, the reality is that, another game that we talk quite regularly about here on the show is Gears of War E-Day. I think that there's a possibility, but once again, I think it's something that Xbox is going to want to control. They want to control the narrative when things are getting released. And so the Game Awards would be a great platform. I even felt like Gamescom was a great opportunity for, Xbox to show off some of these IPs, including, Gears of War Reloaded before it came, obviously it was before it came out. Gears of War E-Day would have been really cool to see that there. State of Decay 3. But they haven't shown anything at Gamescom. And so the reality is do I think they're going to show it at the Game Awards? I just don't really know. Yes, they're going to have a much bigger audience at the Game Awards than they will at the Dev Direct or, even the Horror Game Awards, because the Horror Game Awards are going to be primarily, centered around indie horror games. But to me, I think it would be a great starting point for us with State of Decay 3, at least getting the hype and anticipation building for a 2026 release date. I don't think that we're going to see State of Decay 3 release in 2026 unless it's shown at the Game Awards. If they showed State of Decay 3 at the Dev Direct or they show it at the Xbox Game Showcase especially, I don't think that we're going to get State of Decay 3 in 2026. I think it would be, the release date would be shown at the showcase, but the release date would be in 2027. But I think it'll be Xbox Game Showcase. And at the Xbox Game Showcase, you're talking June, right? More than likely, we're talking June. Wadey Splash says, I hope it doesn't release in 2027. Yeah, look, dude, I hope so too. I want it right now. Like, I want it shadow dropped today. You know what I'm saying? But I just look at let's take this practically, right? What we know, okay, is next year, what are the games that are scheduled to release next year? Well, if we want to talk about the beginning of the year and we want to talk about games that are like, I guess we should probably talk about all the different kinds of games. But if we're talking specifically horror games, we've got the first big one that's hitting next year is Resident Evil Requiem. And Resident Evil Requiem is going to be releasing February of 2026. Okay. So let's just say Xbox is like, okay, we want to release State of Decay 3 in 2026. Where should we put it? Well, you probably don't want to release it near Resident Evil Requiem. because Resident Evil, guys, is one of, if not the biggest horror titles in the world, right? I mean, when we think about, when we talk about the biggest horror games on planet Earth, Resident Evil is at the top. I mean, you could argue maybe Silent Hill, but like Silent Hill has not been consistently bringing out as many games as Resident Evil has. I mean, you have Silent Hill F that just came out, which I have not played it yet. It looks great, and it looks pretty unnerving. And, you know, it's kind of a change of what we've had in the past with Silent Hill, even though it's got that, certainly has its the Silent Hill roots in it. It's different, right? But nonetheless, I mean, it sold 1 million copies in like 4 days. So absolutely awesome. Huge shout out to the guys and girls over at what is that, Konami, for bringing that out and just crushing it. And then they've had the Silent Hill remake, or Silent Hill 2 remake, done by Bloober Team, which was met with rave reviews. But Resident Evil's been doing a lot of those remakes as well for their games. And Resident Evil, I just look at it, they've had, you know, from Biohazard to Village, and now you have Requiem. It's the biggest horror franchise on the planet. So nonetheless, I don't think that you want to go anywhere near Resident Evil Requiem, okay? A few months later, after Resident Evil Requiem comes out, so you could probably put State of Decay 3 somewhere between like March and April, like maybe one of those 2 months. But what comes out May is going to be more than likely the biggest game of all time, GTA 6, right? Which is slated for May 26 of 2026. You want no parts of GTA 6. Like, you don't want to be near GTA 6 at all. So my recommendation would be either you want to stay ahead of GTA 6, or you just wait until a decent amount of time after. Because that game's going to take the entire gaming industry by storm. So I don't think you want to be anywhere near there. So if you're going to release State of Decay 3 Q1 of 2026, you're going to want to release like March, you know, sometime in March, probably. You don't really probably want to do April because everyone's going to be so hyped about GTA 6. So let's say Q1 of 2026, right? They go to plan to release it. Well, we don't even have a gameplay trailer. We have nothing. We had one trailer in 2020, which was the reveal that wasn't even apparently made by Undead Labs. And then 4 years later, we got trailer 2 at the Xbox Game Showcase of 2024 without a release date or anything of that nature. And so are they really going to release it Q1 of 2026 when we don't even have a gameplay trailer? If they did, there would be some huge red flags associated with that. I will say I would really like to see a character from the first game make an appearance in State of Decay 3. I mean, yeah, I'd be totally down with that. That'd be cool. I think that would be awesome. You know, I think it'd be cool to have some existing characters, and then of course some new characters, some existing zombies, some new zombies, like the wildlife zombies, the change of season. You know, you want to have similarities certainly to the DNA of State of Decay, but you also want to have some differences. And to me, guys, I've stated this a lot, but the State of Decay 3 trailer 1, in my personal opinion, this is just my opinion, was more compelling than the second one for a couple of reasons, but the main one being that there were changes we saw in State of Decay 3's trailer 1, like the change of season. We saw snow, like a snowy map. Like, okay, that's cool. We saw zombie wildlife, you know, a zombie deer, you know. I really like that. Those were two things that were different that we haven't seen in State of Decay up to this point. Trailer 2 was kind of more of the same that we've gotten in the past couple of games. The main difference was the graphic fidelity. The graphics were incredible for trailer 2. I don't know. So I definitely want to see similarities. I don't want to copy and paste just enhanced graphics. I definitely think that there's going to be a number of changes to State of Decay, 3 when it finally releases to the other games. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be similarities, but there also has to be some differences to really make it a compelling experience, an experience that you want to come back to over and over again. So let's just say Q1 2026 is out of the picture, right? Because the amount of time you have for marketing would be not very much between now and then. So let's move into Q2. May, June, July, August. You want to stay very far away from May. June, July, and August is interesting because right now we don't know, like, okay, what all is coming out in the summer of 2026, right? We know very little about what's coming out Q2, at least right now, outside of GTA 6, because it seems like everybody wants to stay away from GTA 6 with good reason. I mean, it's going to take the entire gaming world by storm. Everybody knows it. It's going to break the internet. It's going to be so big that for May, because it's the end of May that's coming out apparently, June, you want to stay away from June because everyone's playing GTA. July, okay, maybe July, maybe August, right? But let's talk about the other games that haven't gotten, like, they're stating 2026 is when they're releasing. We just don't know yet when. Okay, let me give you some. Number 1, Fable. And I'm just going to kind of talk about like Xbox IPs right now. Like, we're not even going to really, I mean, PlayStation and all these other, like, they're going to have their own slate of games, Nintendo as well. But I'm saying let's stick with Xbox right now, okay, shall we? So Fable is scheduled to come out in 2026. Well, when is Fable coming? And State of Decay is way different than Fable. But I'm just saying, Fable is a flagship IP for Xbox. So when is Fable coming out? Well, is it going to be in the fall or is it going to be in the summer? I feel like it's going to be a summer release because when we get to the fall, we're going to talk about it's going to start getting kind of packed in the fall. So I think Fable is probably going to release in the summer. What else is going to be coming? Well, Gears of War E-Day, I believe, is going to be the direct for the Xbox Game Showcase. Kind of like the Outer Worlds 2 was the direct of this year's Xbox Game Showcase. I think Gears of War E-Day is going to be that for the Xbox Game Showcase next year. So Gears of War E-Day is kind of like the biggest game that Xbox is going to be releasing next year, or at least in terms of like the numbers and all that stuff, right? Fable's going to be big though too, but I think Gears is going to be their biggest. So Gears of War E-Day, when is that going to release? Well, that's probably going to be a fall release. More than likely September, October, probably. State of Decay 3 would probably do really well around Halloween in terms of like a release date. But are you really going to put State of Decay 3 and Gears of War E-Day near each other? You see what I'm saying? Like, even though they're different games, it's like Xbox wants to kind of spread out their games, especially like the Xbox IP games, you know? So are they going to release those to get close together? I mean, I don't think they will. If they did, I don't know if it's a really good decision to do that. The biggest game that Xbox is going to release next year, which it's the biggest game every year. Now, next year, it won't be the biggest game of the year, but Call of Duty. Call of Duty notoriously comes out every single year. Well, is Call of Duty going to come out? I mean, it's going to come out in 1 to 2 months, October or November. It seems like they're starting to go with this trend of November now. So Gears of War E-Day, you know, being in October with Call of Duty in November, I mean, I don't even know if I think Xbox might be like, let's release Gears of War E-Day in September. You know, give it some time before Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 4, or whatever they release next, comes out. So do you want to release State of Decay 3 near Call of Duty, near Gears of War, near Fable, I mean, whatever else they decide. I mean, if they're bringing out another Forza, you see what I'm saying? Like, because I look at this and I say to myself, when would be the best time for them to release State of Decay 3 in a year that's getting packed with games? I'll bring up another game that's releasing fall of 2026, apparently. Now, it's not an Xbox exclusive, but we know it's coming from PlayStation, is Wolverine. Once again, Wolverine is not anything even remotely close to State of Decay. But what I'm saying, guys, is do you want a game that you believe is going to become a flagship IP for you? Do you want it to get, like, watered down in terms of the audience because of a game like Wolverine coming out? Wolverine will be a massive game. Make no mistake about it. After I saw the gameplay reveal and all of those things, I'm going to tell you guys right now, Wolverine is going to be a big game. And I think it's going to be pretty good. Because if it's anything remotely close to Spider-Man and the replayability of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales, brother, Wolverine's going to be huge. It's going to be a big game. So I'm just saying, do you really want to be around those juggernauts that are coming out? Or would you rather push the game to 2027, stamp your release date and say, we're releasing Q1 of 2027, we're sticking with it, and then everybody else can kind of fit around you or whatever? Because I'm telling you right now, especially if the buzz gets really big for State of Decay 3, like the gameplay reveal trailer, the release date that comes out, say Q1 2027, what that's going to do is, especially if there's a lot of buzz around it, other developers will stay a little ways away from you. Like, if there's another horror game that's coming out, it's like, do we really want to go up against State of Decay 3 right now? So what I'm saying is, I feel like they've got to stamp their release date way ahead of time so that other companies like then start fitting around State of Decay 3. Like, for example, Resident Evil Requiem, they've announced it's coming out in February of 2026, right? Well, I think that a lot of games are going to somewhat stay away from Resident Evil Requiem, especially in the horror space, because it's Resident Evil. Now, State of Decay is not nearly as big as Resident Evil right now, but what I'm saying is I think there's going to be other games that are going to kind of try to fit around Resident Evil or kind of stay a little ways away from it because of how big of a game it is and franchise. And so State of Decay, if they place their stamp on, yo guys, we're releasing February of 2027, you might have a number of horror games that are planning on coming out in 2027, but they may stay away from that date. It's food for thought. And so, do I believe that State of Decay 3, do I think that they are going to release it in 2026? The longer time goes, I don't think so. Because 2026 is starting to get packed. They already announced, here's the thing, guys. They announced Fable's coming out in 2026. Gears of War E-Day, 2026. They didn't mention State of Decay 3. They had every opportunity to do that at the Xbox Game Showcase of 2025, but they didn't. So I'm just saying, I feel in my heart, I want to say it's coming out in 2026. But realistically, I think it's going to be 2027. And it could be as soon as Q1 of 2027. But I really believe, guys, I believe we will be getting a lot more information about State of Decay 3 at the showcase of 2026. That's just me.